Hi everyone and welcome to Fresh from My Garden. This is our Hoya bloom that has bloomed for the second time in our garden, and this was from a plant that we purchased a few months back from our hometown. This bloom is right outside our front door, and the plant is in a hanging pot and it's hanging off our balcony. So it's not actually on our balcony, but it's on the grill of our balcony and it's hanging down towards the front door. And these plants have bloomed for the second time in a month. So last month there was one beautiful bloom of these Hoya flowers, and I had shared a quick video on my channel. Now this is the view from our balcony. So as you can see, it is not actually on our balcony, but we have used a metal rod with a hook and we have used that to hang this. And this plant came in a hanging pot, so I'll just take it up from here to actually show you how this plant looks. So when we purchased this plant, it was in this hanging pot. We have not repotted it at all in the last 6 to 8 months, and it just had a few leaves on it when we purchased it. But now it has really grown, and you can see that there are a lot of leaves. And when we checked with the gardener at the nursery, he said that these plants can do well for quite some time in this small pot and they don't need to be repotted immediately. And if you look at the leaves, they have a nice white variegation on them, and it's a beautiful variety of Hoya. And if I'm not wrong, this is the Hoya carnosa. And if anyone else knows better about this variety of Hoya, please do share in the comments below. But from my knowledge, this is the Hoya carnosa, and it has new stems that are growing from the main plant, and it's all twining down towards the ground floor, and that's where we got one of the Hoya blooms. This is the second bloom that we are getting in 2 months, and they have been doing really well in this pot, and they have grown a lot of new leaves and new branches also. So these branches are trailing downwards, and I will now pick up the bloom which is trailing downwards carefully to show you how beautiful the bloom looks. The blooms look so beautiful and delicate, and I was really scared whether I would damage them when I was picking them up and pulling them up to the balcony so that I could share them on the video. So, here you can see these beautiful blooms and the lovely color, and there are few buds that are yet to bloom, but overall they look so gorgeous with this beautiful shade of pink, and the flowers in between looks like little beads. So the first time I saw this plant in bloom, it was amazing, and I did try to do a time lapse, but due to a lot of wind I couldn't get a video that was steady and showing the flowers blooming perfectly. So I had to get rid of that time lapse video, and I put a small video with some pictures on my Instagram and also on my YouTube channel when it bloomed for the first time in March. Hoya is a really easy to grow house plant, and it can also be grown indoors if we get a spot where they receive a lot of bright indirect light. Low light will prevent these plants from blooming well, but these are on our balcony and they get a lot of bright indirect light. And since our balcony is west facing and these plants will not be able to tolerate the harsh afternoon direct sunlight, I hung them at the grill of our balcony so that they get that bright light, but they are also protected from the harsh direct sunlight. So we have a couple of trees like our jackfruit tree, and there is a palm in front of our house, so that will block out the direct sunlight from getting to this plant, but it also gets a lot of bright indirect light. Hoya plants also like to be root bound, and they do grow very well in small containers or in hanging pots, and they can be repotted only once in 2 or 3 years. And the soil mixture that has been used in this container is a succulent mix with some perlite. So I checked with the gardener when I was purchasing this plant, and the only care it needs is occasional watering and bright indirect light. So it doesn't even need to be watered every day, and since it is hanging off my balcony, sometimes I even forget to water it, and water it maybe only 2 or 3 times in a week. But in spite of that, this plant has really grown well, and I've just given it some occasional seaweed fertilizer. Apart from that, I have not given it any new fertilizer or new soil after it has been purchased around 6 to 8 months back. These leaves also look really pretty with the little white variegation on them, and the leaves are really thick and are also known as wax plant because of their thick, waxy kind of leaves and the flowers that grow on them. So, the flowers are also really thick petals and kind of waxy, so, this plant is also known as wax plant. So, this is a really beautiful plant that we can grow indoors as well as in shady spots of our garden for its beautiful flowers and also its beautiful leaves. So, looking at these leaves, they are so pretty and they look so nice in hanging pots in the garden. And propagation of this plant is also quite easy because when you look at the stems, you can see little roots that are popping up at different parts of the stems, and these can be taken as cuttings, and these cuttings can be propagated into new plants. So here you can see the little tiny roots that I was talking about, and these can be taken as cuttings and then they can be propagated into new plants. So this is our Hoya that we purchased a few months ago. It was purchased with just 4 to 5 leaves, and now the pot is really filled and it looks really beautiful, and it has also bloomed twice in our garden with very little care and very little fertilizing. So if you like this plant, do give it a thumbs up, and if you're growing Hoya in your garden, please do share the names of the varieties that you're growing in your garden. Thanks for watching Fresh from my garden.